Well, howdy there, Internet students. It's Mr. Hermanson again. Hey, today I'm going to help you with your 6.1C retake. I'm going to do one problem, and then you're going to do a couple. This one's all about Pythagorean's theorem. So let's write that right at the top. Now, remember, you need the notes that I'm giving in order for me to know that you watched the video and you are actually preparing to do the retake. So here's Pythagorean's theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And that's for right triangles labeled like that. Remember, a and b are called the legs. Let's just put a little arrow here. And c is called the hypotenuse. All right. So on this first problem here, we are told that a is equal to 12 and c is equal to 36. So we are given the longest side, c, and one of the shorter sides, a. Okay. Now, what I would recommend you do is just write out the Pythagorean theorem. Sometimes you have to backtrack. Sometimes you just square them, add them up, and do the square root. So let's go ahead and just fill those in. A is 12, so I'm going to write 12 squared. B, I don't know, so that's what I'm looking for. And C is 37. Okay, so we're going to do 12 squared. I can do that in my head. That's 147. Plus B squared is equal to 37 squared. That's 1,369. Okay, now this one I got to backtrack because I want to find B, which is one of the smaller sides. So I'm going to subtract 144 from my last answer. So minus 144. And that's 1,225. And that's B squared. Now I got to do one more step. I have to undo that squared, which the way we do that is we do the square root. So B will equal the square root of 1,225. So on my calculator, I'm going to do the square root, and that equals 35. All right, why don't you go try a couple of those? Number two, we're going to read problems, and you're going to have to figure out which sides of the triangle you're looking for. The landscaper attaches a guy wire 10 feet up on a trunk. That's labeled. That one's easy to tell. He stakes the wire 20 feet from the tree. Okay, if you're measuring 20 feet from the tree, you're going to be measuring along the ground. So that would be this line down here, 20 feet. Okay, so we're actually looking for the longest side, which a lot of times you would label that C, the hypotenuse is C. So we actually have A and B. So once again, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And we know A and B in this one. And we're looking for C. So we're going to do 10 squared plus 20 squared. Well, I can do that in my head. 10 squared is 100. 20 squared is 400. And add that up, that's 500. And then the last step to undo the second power is you do the square root of 500 is equal to C. I'm going to use my calculator to help me with that. We're going to round to the nearest tenth. So square root of 500, about 22.4 we get. Feet. All right. You can try a couple problems. Make sure you know which side you're looking for. Okay, on number 3 it says determine which set of 3 numbers given can be the sides of a right triangle. If they're the sides of a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared will equal c squared. Now the two smaller numbers will always be your a and b. So we would have to do 3 squared plus 7 squared and see if it equals 10 squared. I'm going to put a question mark there because I'm not sure. That's 9 and that's 49 and that's 100. That is not equal. So it's not the first one. Okay, so it must be the second one. Let's just verify that. 8 squared plus 15 squared. And then we need to do 17 squared and see if we get the same thing. 8 squared is 64. 15 squared is 225. 17 squared is 289. When we add 64 and 225, we also get 289. So they are equal. So it's this one. All right, let's do one more problem together and then you can finish up your worksheet. On this one, we want to find the height of the equilateral triangle shown. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. The important information is that this is an equilateral triangle, which means all sides are the same. So the bottom is also 32. And so the height would split the bottom in exact half. So we know this is 16. Now the height is one of the shorter sides. So h squared plus 16 squared would give you 32 squared. Okay, so we have to do 16 squared. I think that's 256. And we have to do 32 squared. That's 1,024. And when we're doing this, we would do, we're going to have to backtrack, right? So we're going to subtract 256 from 1,024. So I got that in there. I'll just subtract 256, and that gives me 768. So my h squared is 768. So we're going to do the square root of that to undo that. All right, so on my calculator, I'm going to do the square root of 768. And that's about 27.7 if I round to the nearest tenth. All right, go ahead and finish those up and send me a picture when you're done of your work, and hopefully I'll get that retake to you as soon as possible. Good luck.